continue this talk about the Blazers and whether or not you guys think they've just been a really good story, big surprise. No, I wouldn't say really a surprise because they have a legitimate team and players. But do you see them as title contenders? If they were to be the Lakers, can they actually go all the way? I'll start with you, Bevan.
No.
You don't think so?
The Portland Trailblazers are a good team. The Portland Trailblazers are a good team.
Right.
They're probably not an 8th seed. I would argue that maybe they're better than an 8th seed.
Right.
And because of injuries, they've sort of had to end up in this situation that they are. But what I think the issue for me with Portland is that they have no defense. They really are. They rank like 27th in the league or some ridiculous thing in terms of defense. They're a great offensive team. They're probably in the top 5 in offense, but defensively, they can't stop anybody. And Terry Stotts, the way he coaches, the strategy he employs, it's defeating the purpose. You can't play Nurkic and Whiteside together. It's not going to work. You're basically playing into Lakers' hands if you try to match them with size. You have a lot of the strength of Portland is the mobility of their guards and their forwards. So use that. That's your strength. You can't win playing against someone else's strength. By playing Whiteside and Nurkic, you basically play into the Lakers' strength, which is their big men and LeBron. So why do that? Play with young. You have youth on your side. You have mobility on your side. Use that as your strength and push that down their throats, and then see where the chips lie.
Right. So Jahn, you have the Blazers passing the Lakers in the first round. What do you think? Do you think they have the strengths to go all the way, or it's just that in it?
Nah, I don't see them going all the way. I mean,
right.
I like the story. I like the Blazers because I like Dame. But no, I don't think they're built to go all the way this year. They're not deep enough, as we can see. Right. And Bevan alluded to this. This is why Terry Stotts is playing Whiteside and Nurkic, because without Zach Collins, he doesn't have that power forward or stretch four that he can use. So he's now almost forcing Nurkic to be a stretch four. We saw Nurkic shooting threes. This is the most I've seen him shoot from outside in the last 2 years since he's been in Portland. I mean, yes, he's an improved shooter, but he's not reliable from out there. I mean, if he hits 1 or 2 during the game, it's a victory for them, but he should not be out on the perimeter. I mean, we've seen his touch inside and what he did in game 1. Nurkic really should be down on the block, punishing the Laker bigs and the other smaller guys when they do switch onto him. So I think part of the issue with Portland going forward is that they're not deep enough right now. Trevor, probably losing Trevor Ariza as well has kind of hurt them. And maybe if they had him and Zach Collins, then I would say they're a much deeper team and they could, there's a chance that they could meet up with a Clipper team that they could possibly take, probably give them a good 7-game series. But as it stands, my reason for saying they're going to get past the Lakers, it's purely matchup-wise. I think they match up well with the Lakers because their strengths, like Bevan said, are the Laker weaknesses. The Lakers can't guard anyone in the perimeter. And that's where the Portland Trailblazers have to be better. CJ can't go for, what he saw last night, 5 for 14, and Carmelo was non-existent. You can't have that because that's your strength.
Yeah.
I think why they went that, why they can't go big is that you'll never have great shooting on every night. But Gary Trent Jr. was shooting the ball pretty decent last night. He started
off shaky. He got better as the game went along, and then he went back to being,
But I think if you just have to commit to a style of play and use that style of play to drive you through. The Lakers can't match that. They don't have the shooters to match with Portland. And that's why, if we come to my brackets, that's why I think Houston kind of...
We'll come to that. All right, so I think that's enough talk for the West. I think we've kind of spoken about that for a little bit, although when we come to the brackets, we'll touch up on Dallas and Clippers and some of the other teams, etc. So far for the East, what have you guys seen that's kind of impressed you from the East so far? There's been some really shaky play with the Milwaukee Bucks. Miami has kind of held it down against Indiana, etc. What has kind of stood out for you, Jahn, from the East?
That Heat jersey number 3 you got right there. That's what it's about. That's the Heat have shown me that with Jimmy Butler at the helm and those shooters and the emergence of Bam, they're gonna be a big threat to the Milwaukee Bucks. That's my take from the East. Looking at how they played Indiana, who's been a very good team. They were great in the bubble. They were also quite good before. I mean, yes, not having Oladipo for a couple of games has kind of made it a bit shaky, but I still think that Miami team and the style of play with Bevan's guy, Duncan Robinson, we have the shooters. I think Miami has 3 really good shooters on the perimeter. You have Dragic, you have Duncan Robinson, you have Tyler Hero. Jimmy's a streak shooter, as we know, so he may give you 5 one game, he may give you none another game, but generally his leadership and he's showing his clutch gene. I mean, we've all known Jimmy to be one of the more clutch players in the fourth quarter. I think his stats say it all. He led the league, I think, a couple of years ago, fourth quarter points in the last 2 minutes. So we know what Jimmy can do. But I think it's the maturity of Bam, who's now showing he's an elite big in this league. He can pass, he can dribble, he can shoot, he's down low, he's a monster. And the rest of that team, I think they have some good veterans with Crowder and Iggy. So I think Miami is shown, and I mean, taking the light work they've made so far, Philly, up 2-0, a strong Philly team, a strong Indiana team, sorry. It just goes to show that they're really primed and ready.
Right. So, Bevan, what do you think? I think you had Milwaukee coming out of the East. We'll show you brackets in a little while. What do you think about them and their play so far? Do you think it's a situation like last year where Toronto lost the first game to Orlando and then went on this incredible run? And would Milwaukee do the same? Or what do you think about the Celtics? You know, Tatum and Brown have been playing really well as well. So what's your take on the East so far?
These 2 points. When it comes to Milwaukee, I think I'm losing confidence in Milwaukee every time I watch them play.
Your guy, so you're losing confidence in EV?
Well, I mean, as a team, I think I'm watching them play and I'm having serious doubts about them. Although I picked them to go to the finals based on their record, what I saw during the regular season, because that's a big sample size to just ignore. But the way they've been playing, I have serious doubts. The way Giannis getting the ball at the top of the key, trying to drive and twist and turn against a weak defensive team and still not having much love. I'm serious. I have serious doubts about that. Boston. I'm loving to see the way Boston's playing, and you could just see the NBA, the way the NBA is. I could just tell you which teams will be successful. There are teams with mobile players, very interchangeable players that play different positions, that can move, that can shoot, that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And that's the key. I mean, you talked about Miami. That's basically what Miami have: mobile players who can shoot, dribble, pass, and it's all over the NBA. And if you don't fall in line with that, then you will struggle. So and you could see it from. Go ahead.
Continue. End your point.
You could see it from all the teams who have been successful, from Toronto to Boston. If you can move the ball and you have multiple players that can dribble, pass, and shoot, and a serviceable big man, that's all you really need right now.
And to mention, you mentioned Toronto there. I was just about to say, are you not going to give any love to the reigning NBA champions? Do you think they're not going to be able to come out of the East this year with, such a disrupted season and probably a weekend in Milwaukee, etc.? What do you guys think about Toronto?
I like Toronto. I like they fit in the new NBA mold with Van Fleet. I mean, and Siakam. They just have players who can handle the ball, who can shoot, who can dribble, And they move the ball very well. They have a system. It works. They move the ball. The best shot is the open guy. And to me, that's what makes them really good. The only problem I have with Toronto is when games get close, who do you give the ball to? Do you have a guy? Do you have a finisher? Do you have a closer? And
have to be Fred VanVleet. Because I don't trust Kyle Lowry. We've seen this movie before.
Right. Yeah, and that's the question I have with Toronto. I mean, they will be in every game because the way they play, the pattern of play is very set. They move the ball. They find the open man on each play. It's tough when you're a defender too. It's easy to defend teams where the ball is going, what's going to happen. And that's why the NBA has changed, because coaches have realized, like, if you have a guy just planted in the low post and you're just dropping the ball down to him each time. I mean, look at 10, 20 years ago, Embiid would be destroying the league. Yeah. Because
Embiid should still be destroying the league. He's just not focused every night.
Yeah,
he should still be destroying the league.
In the last game, Embiid was literally, he had probably 20 points in the first half.
Exactly, so that's what I'm saying.
But they were down.
When he's locked in and focused, he can continue.
They were still down. They were still.
Yeah, they were still down because they're playing right now without a true point guard. I understand Philly's underperforming, and I take your point that the big man isn't as. But some people say he isn't as valuable, but I don't think so. I think if you have a big man with Embiid skills, it's less like AD. Anthony Davis had 20 points at the half last night. So let's not diminish the value of the big man just because, wing players who can shoot the in. If you have a big man who can command the double team down low, it's still an easier option than running 5 pick and rolls to get the ball to one open guy. When you can get that big man the ball down low, he commands a double team. Immediately the defense is at a disadvantage. So I think
look at Anthony Davis.
Focus.
Go ahead, Bevan.
Look at Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is not a traditional big man. He's almost a wing player who's just extremely tall and big, because he's basically shooting 3-pointers. He's out on the
not get carried away.
He has the skill set, though. He can do it.
Yeah, how much of his baskets yesterday were really post up, back to your basket?
Nah, he's okay.
Left shoulder, right shoulder, hook shots. No, he's
not that guy. But
open court or 3-point shooting of a skip pass or something like that.
Yeah, but not every big man is the back to the back. You have big men who can face up, and he's one of those types. He can face up like Tim Duncan. I mean, granted, he doesn't have the left hook, right hook like we've seen from a Tim Duncan, but he has the face up game. But yeah, he's still a big who gets all those little tip-ins who whenever he goes to the block, there's a double team. And that's what all I'm saying is that we can't diminish the role of the traditional big. I don't think we can just say it's useless now.
But what I'm saying is he's not a traditional big.
Okay, I'll agree. He's not. There are bigs that have been in that mold. Charles Barkley, he backed down people, but he shot the ball well. C. Webb didn't back down guys very much. C. Webb was kind of a face-up shooter. He drive to the basket. So I'd put him in the C. Webb mold. I think that's
how many rings C. Webb has.
How many rings Anthony Davis has?
Yeah, we're not even going to go there because that's going to be a conversation.
Yeah, but C. Webb went against Shaq. Come on now. Let's be fair.
So what I'll do, I'll kind of keep that one for our next conversation sometime. But what I will say about the East, though, I think for me, what it comes down to in the East, I don't think there's like a clear-cut favorite from the East for me. I think Milwaukee is what everyone is looking forward to. Giannis as the MVP and someone who's very dominant, and the shooters around him. They have a chance. Toronto, they're a really solid team. They have a system like Bevan says. Miami is a very scrappy team. You cannot deny them. They're very deep. Lots of players, Goran Dragic coming off the bench, and Duncan Robinson.
Man of the year.
Those guys are really, really good. I think what's happening in the East for me, it will really come down to coaching. I think that the West is where all the talent is. You have the Doncic's, they have the Paul George, you have Kawhi, you have LeBron, and all those guys in the West. I think the East, it will really come come down to strategizing from the coaching position and who could outcoach the next coach in their series. So it's going to be really interesting because I think that's where all some really talented coaches are. You have Spoelstra, you have Budenholzer, you have all the guys in the Nick Nurse, and all of that.
Nick
so
Nurse, that guy is solid.
The talent is not solid. And it has been like that for a little while in the West, where it hasn't been up to par with the West. I suppose that's what some people say, but I think it will really, really come down to coaching. So what I will do now is show brackets. Jahn, I haven't got your bracket, but I will wait for you.
Okay, so I'll have to call my brackets out.
We'll come to it. So what I'm going to show here, I don't know if you could see, is Bevan's bracket. So Bevan has, gone against what you said. He doesn't have the Blazers progressing. He has the Lakers going up against the Rockets, beating the Thunder.
He's a LeBron sympathizer.
So we have the Nuggets here as well, beating the Jazz. I think that will also be the case. Clippers getting past Mavericks. So no major upsets here from Bevan on that side. We have the Bucks getting past Magic. Heat going down, beating the Pacers. Celtics overcoming the Sixers, which I think most people would. Raptors then taking over the Nets. Then we go into Raptors, Celtics, Heat, Bucks. Bucks coming through, Celtics and Bucks in the finals, conference finals, and he has Bucks reaching the finals. On the West, Rockets. So this is where the major upset is. Rockets beating the Lakers, and Clippers getting past the Nuggets. Rockets and Clippers in the finals, Western finals, and then Clippers, Bucks going at it in the finals, Clippers winning 4-2. So that was Bevan's bracket. Anything surprise you there, Jahn?
Not really. I mean, the Rockets-Lakers upset. Well, I don't have the Lakers getting there anyway. So, that's if I had the Lakers going forward, I think my brackets would sort of look like all on the West. Right. His West brackets look like what I would have had I had the Lakers going forward. But I have Portland getting there, and then Portland beating the Rockets, and then the Clippers beating Portland.
Oh,
on the East, though, I have, so the first rounds are pretty much set. Mm-hmm. But I have the Raptors over the Celtics.
Right.
And for the exact point you said, Nick Nurse is a gamer. That guy can coach. He can coach with the best of them. And I just think that the Celtics being so small on the interior, Nurse is going to exploit that. I mean, they're going to have to... the Celtics wings are excellent. And if Gordon Hayward comes back, they get another wing back, and I think that's great. But I think against a team like the Raptors, who have Serge, Marc Gasol down low, Siakam's a big guy, I think they're going to give the Celtics fits.
Right.
If Jason Tatum turns into the superstar we think he is, then Boston might get out of it. But I have the Raptors beating the Celtics. And as a homer, I have the Heat beating the Bucks.
Right. So what's the finals?
My finals are the Clippers and the Heat.
Clippers and the Heat. All right. And who?
Yeah, homer pick. I accept it.
And who wins?
But seriously, though, I have the Heat beating the Bucks for the same exact reasons that we've been seeing. Budenholzer, to my mind, is not a good coach. And we saw this movie when he coached Atlanta, and they had the best record in the East, and they couldn't beat the Washington Wizards. We've seen this. So I don't think the Bucks, as a short fire finalist, I'm not feeling that pick, to be honest. I don't think it's. I think you alluded to it at the start, Alister. You said the East is kind of wide open. It is to me. So I think if we get into a 7-game series and who's hot, I mean, Jimmy looks good. Miami looks good for now. I mean, if they can keep up that play, I think the Bucks, based on what I've seen so far in the bubble, they haven't been a good team in the bubble. And no one can deny that.
I think the series
it's there. Like, they haven't been a good team in the bubble. So they're gonna have to show me over the next few. I'm not even counting the Orlando series, because Orlando can't even defend. Orlando doesn't defend anybody. So I'm not even worried about their defense against Orlando. Their offense against Orlando. And they didn't look good that first game. It was basically what Bevan said. Giannis isolated up top, trying to drive 1-on-3 and looking for passes or hoping he gets foul calls. That's made their offense very predictable. Everyone is saying that too. Chris Middleton hasn't shown me he's ready to be a true second guy. So I just don't see them as a surefire favorite like I did in the regular season. I'll be honest, in the regular season, I had them dead set in the finals for the East, but right now, I'm not sure.
So, Bevan, you wanted to say something quickly whilst I open up my brackets. You could go ahead.
Yeah, I think a big problem for the Bucks is Middleton not performing up to par, having two pretty bad games to start this series. Against the Heat, I mean, obviously he's going to have Jimmy on him, so it's going to be a struggle. And you're going to put Bam on Giannis. So it's a tough series for them. But I think when it comes down to it, Bucks have more players all around that. I mean, but then again, you can't really.
Do they?
I mean, they have DiVincenzo. They have a whole bunch of more highly mobile players that.
Kyle Korver mobile? Nah, Brook Lopez mobile.
Kyle Korver is not a big part of their team. Come on.
Brook Lopez is, and he's not mobile.
So
but Bam has to guard him. So Bam has to stay out of the paint, which leaves the court open for Giannis and Middleton. So somebody has Jimmy cannot mark both Giannis and Middleton.
I'd simply just stick Kelly Olynyk.
Jimmy has to mark one of them, and then you basically have Duncan Robinson on Giannis or Middleton. Which
that matchup doesn't have to go that way, because you can still Olynyk on Brook Lopez. Lopez is going to stand up outside and do the exact same thing Kelly Olynyk does. I'd stick Kelly Olynyk on Brook Lopez, and then you can get Bam on Giannis, and Middleton and Jimmy Butler.
Well then.
And I think that's really interesting, and I think what you guys are doing.
I don't think Kelly Olynyk is a great defender, but
he's not. But what's Brook Lopez gonna do?
And I think what you guys.
But then that will disrupt the whole Miami team. So.
Well, what I'm going to say here is, and I think it kind of comes back to that same point I was making earlier. I think that's where coaching is going to play a very important role in terms of setting rotations and setting the assignments and that sort of stuff, because it will take a lot of tactical play going on within the games to kind of decide who will end up winning the different games and then the series. Just to go on to our bracket quick, because we're going to end the show really quickly. Not much difference apart from a couple of identifiable changes here. I think, all of us had the Clippers going through and winning, which was really surprising. Only difference between our brackets being, I think the Lakers will go through. On the Blazers,
the conference final.
They will go to the conference finals, getting past the Blazers. I think the Nuggets and Clippers will get through. I think this matchup between the Nuggets and Blazers, though, I think this will be really, really entertaining, and the Clippers will squeak past in the Game 7. So that's what I'm thinking here. So Clippers getting through to the finals on the West. Bucks, I have them, of course, getting past the Magic. Then the Heat and Pacers are going to go down to this, but I think the Heat will beat the Bucks.
Yeah, that's right, Alister. You know it.
Because of what Jahn has been saying, I think the Bucks are, of course, they demand a certain level of respect, and the coaching is really good. But I think when you start to isolate Giannis Antetokounmpo, the team becomes very deficient. Bledsoe has always shown that he doesn't perform in the playoffs. DiVincenzo and these guys have kind of really stepped up and done certain things. But I think, kind of adding on to what you had said, Bevan, I think their play doesn't really inspire very much confidence at this moment to kind of go all the way through to the finals. So that's why I have the Heat overtaking them. Lower down, I have the Celtics getting past the Sixers. I think they're just not going to be able to overcome. The Sixers are not going to be able to overcome not having Ben Simmons. And then Raptors and Nets, that's just a wash. I think that's a sweep. Raptors going to get past the Nets. And then Raptors then beating the Celtics. Why do
you think Raptors are going to beat the Celtics?
I think the Celtics
I told you, Bevan.
are a really good team. Tatum and Brown have shown up, but I think Gordon Hayward having that injury that he did, I think he's one of those X-factor players. And I think him not being there and then him coming back not 100%, a bit hobbled. I don't think they'll be able to rely on these two guys alone. I think the Raptors play defense by committee, and when they swarm heavy. You have Marc Gasol, you have Pascal Siakam that is playing really, really good on the perimeter. Van Vliet, although he's a small guard, he could hound you. He's like a little pit bull. Kyle Lowry is really good for defense. You don't really look to Kyle Lowry as your savior on offense, but you know he could pass the ball. And you know you have guys like Fred Van Vliet who's shown to have ice in his veins, and you know who's willing to take that last shot. Siakam is the same. I just think I can't really pinpoint a whole bunch of stuff, but I just think that the Raptors might have the edge. And then getting back to the finals, and then you have the Clippers beating the Raptors in the end in a 4-3 Game 7 finals with the Clippers taking it all. So
I see you kind of skipped over your Raptors beating the Heat. I don't know how you're gonna do that here. Like
you think? I think that one was also a 7-game series, but you know.
I think if the Raptors can beat the Celtics, they can certainly beat the Heat.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because the Heat have they're loaded, but and they play strong, very well coached. But I see them edging out the Heat. That's just.
The Heat have a good system for the players that they have with Bam, athletic, big. Then you have all the shooters that they have, along with Jimmy, who's good when it comes to penetrating the defense. So I think that really works well, and against traditional basketball teams, they will be very successful. Like a team like the Pacers, very traditional, point guard, two guard, big man, power forward, whatever. So I think that's the strength of the Heat, which is what I've been saying all along. The way the NBA is now, once you have those shooters, mobile shooters, and a mobile big man, then you should be fine. And that's where the Bucks are struggling now because, obviously Giannis is almost like a unicorn to have him big up there, but they are, still playing a little bit in the mold of a traditional team. Although a big problem with the Bucks right now is Middleton's struggle. So I mean, if Middleton can get over his nervousness or his get out of his slump shooting the ball, I think they're going to be very difficult to beat.
Well,
how many years are we gonna keep giving Middleton excuses? Like it happens every year.
That's true.
It happens every year. It's like
very true. And I think what we've seen in the bubble, everything is just all unpredictable. Like I've been joking around and I've been saying it, but it could actually happen. I wouldn't be surprised if I see the Nuggets and Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. And
it could happen.
It could happen.
I think Dallas. Dallas can beat the Clippers with the team that they have. Unfortunately, they don't have enough experience to beat the Clippers.
Yeah, I think so.
The problem with the Clippers, I just don't think they ever gave themselves a chance. And through injuries and whatnot, they haven't really gelled as a team. They really
think so.
They're really just going totally based on talent. And I usually pick against teams that don't have a structure and don't have a system of play, which is and I think I've just been very much influenced by the prevailing thought around that the Clippers are the best, most deepest team. And I agree with it. They have the deepest team in the NBA by far. And that should be enough to carry them through. But, they really don't have a style of play that really fills me with confidence that they can make it work. Because they literally it's your turn, my turn. It's Kawhi's turn. Then it's
in Kawhi we trust, Bevan. In Kawhi we trust.
Kawhi we trust, and we will see what happens. At the end of the playoffs, I think it would be really good to maybe have a catch up and kind of look back at what happened and everything. So let's lock that in later on. But I would like to end this episode today on this note. I think the brackets will always kind of push a lot of conversations on what the differences are and what we think. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. We'll have our chats in WhatsApp group and, everyone kind of fighting with each other digitally, based on, the outcomes and everything. But guys, I'd like to thank you for today. Thank you very much. And we shall keep in touch and, let's see how everything develops over time. So thanks again.
Thank you, Alister.
Thank you.